Because every time we keep talking about this, and any attempt, maybe by the National Assembly or other agencies, to see how they can, well, stop some of these or even recover them, we haven't actually seen a successful move towards, for us as a people, to getting them fixed.
I think no. I think there's some times, like there was a time that the production came down as low as 1.92. I was told it improved back to about 2.1, 2.2. But the problem is that, these are issues which not be second guessing. I mean, there are times where you see in the newspaper, you can open the newspaper and the Ministry of Finance took adverts for how much they've allocated to each local government, down to your local government. I don't think, as something as important as production level as well, we should be able to have an idea what these levels are. The more is shrouded in secrecy, the more we give room for those that create this kind of issues. You see, sometimes some of these things, it's not systemic. It's not that the whole system is aware of it or is working towards, but once something is in secrecy, you allow those who are in charge of it to be able to, once it's out there in the exposure, it makes it more difficult. I think that's the point I'm making, that we must bring this to the front burner, that 2014 budget, no matter how much, if those revenues are not there, you're either going to have, your foreign reserves will come down. If your foreign reserves comes down, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to hold your currency. If you don't hold your currency, our economy is exchange rate sensitive. It means it's going to affect inflation. It also means that the foreign direct investment that are coming in, buying into your stock market that we have all clapped that has improved, is likely improved because of funds coming in not from Nigerians investing. It's going to go. There's nobody who's going to come and invest in this economy. If it comes in at the beginning of the year 160 and at the end of the year the rate is 200, whatever he will have made on the stock market, he will lose on the foreign exchange. The reason why we've seen great bullishness on the stock market is because that the currency has been stable. So all these revenue issues are going to have an impact. And the question is that even if you look at the foreign reserve, you can see that we're just barely holding on to it. And that is so these are the kind of things that it has a multiplier effect. And that is why some of us are keep on raising the alarm bells. And we're raising those alarm bells not because they're personal, to because of the government. Whichever government is in place under this scenario, we must do something for all of us to address this. Yeah.
Well, now that we're on the budget, I think we should also ask what you make of the budgeting process, because some people have said that it's not a very ideal way for a developing country, especially since we have to go through a certain kind of politics every year on this particular budget. If we're not arguing over benchmark, you also have the angle of the directive given by your party now, the APC, telling people not to, or telling their members within the National Assembly not to pass the budget. First of all, what's your take on the directive?
Well, look, I think in part of participatory politics is that political parties in Nigeria, all over the world, use their parties and their members to emphasize on what their policies are. If you're going to pass a budget that for the last 2 years you've seen that there are deficiencies in the process, what's the point of just rushing and passing it? You've passed it, but has the impact on the people being felt? But from day one, it will not be, because the assumptions are not going to be met. So you can pass it, but it's not what people expect. So why don't you correct those issues so that when you pass the budget, it's possible it can be implementable? So I think the position of the party to say, look, I don't think the party is saying don't slow down the process so that it can be done properly. And I think that is really was. I mean, the Senate, you've seen that we've gone to.
Was that the caveat? The caveat was something about security and real estate.
The point is, that's what I'm saying. You use what you have to also discuss on what you think is a danger to democracy. As important as the budget is, I think as a party, we believe that the issue of freedom of speech, the issue of security, life and property is also as important as the budget. And if we're challenging the stability of the democracy due to certain actions that we believe are a danger to it, then as a political party, we must be able to engage and say, listen, you want us to discuss the budget, we will discuss the budget, but also there are issues as well as important to the budget to Nigerian people. And political parties use those policies. In other countries, just health bill or health sector has brought governments shut down just because those are the issues that are important. So political parties will use what they have to address that.
Is the Senate, I mean, the APC members in the Senate, are they on the same page with their party? Because it's past second reading in the Senate.
Yeah, it has passed by second. It doesn't mean the debate at the Senate also expressed their concerns that, look, the way we've been doing the budget, if you listen to most people in their speeches to say, look, we must do it differently. We must pass this budget differently. That does not mean that, and that is in line with what the party has said. I think your expectation is that, well, based on the party's directives, that the Senate will not go on to second reading. No, I think that there is a range of compliance, if I put it that way. Part of the compliance is also raise the issue of the budget process. Part of the compliance, as you say, could also be right at the end of the spectrum to say that, look, don't even do that. But in our own view in the Senate, that you can still achieve some of these objectives if we can get some of these things right.
Well, what do you think about the budgeting process itself? Do you think that we should have a yearly budgeting system, or we should have something that takes much longer?
We're doing you've got a medium-term expenditure profile that addresses a 3-year plan, and then you've also got a yearly budget. The process is faulty because primarily the source of the data or the source of the ingredient that makes up the budget, because we're a monoproduct really economy of the oil, is not transparent. That's where the foundation ab initio is faulty. So you have Ministry of Finance, you have everybody else running to say, fine, this is what we're going to do for 2012 or 2013, right? So that's on the revenue side. That is faulty, and we need to find a better way of being able to capture that.
But the reason I raise this question is also because of capital expenditure. If monies are not released in time, level of implementation is always poor, and then you find that the monies have to be warehoused back again at the end of the year and then factored into the next year's budget before it picks up again. Developmental projects, as it would seem, suffer at the end of the day. Do you think that there is a remedy, maybe a political remedy or a constitutional remedy that could come in and help capital projects be implemented faster?
Well, two things. First of all, you have to before you go to implementation, you got to first ask yourself, is money available? I mean, first question. So if you already have a shortfall on revenue, the capital expenditure will not be implemented because you don't have the money there. Now, let's assume the money was there. Now, some of the things you also see is in due processes. Some of the processes in processing the capital expenditure, and in some of that, those are administrative. The law itself, procurement bill law, also is not helping, because the law pretty much does not allow the ministries to start the process really until the budget has been passed. So by the time the budget is passed, which is, let's say, passed like February, March, by the time they go to tender, by the time they do the process, probably maybe you're now like June, July. By the time you now go to the field, it's now getting to the end of the year. So these are the kind of issues that you've said that must be looked into. And then also some of the budget items there, how much do we vet them? You see ministries sometimes quoting a project, and the same year, the same amount is in the budget, then the same amount in the budget.
Let me comment there, because you also talked about revenues, and maybe for clarification's sake, did you actually call the NNPC or describe them as a parallel government?
That's your word, but the point you're making is you can use parallel government, but the issue is that there must be a more transparent manner by which the revenues in the NNPC side are in the mainframe. Now,
because they've been talking lately, and you also spoke about
that. Yeah, but I'm just going to go to that, because let's take the current issue at hand, where NNPC says that, the 10.8 billion or the 12, whichever figure you say, and says, it was used for subsidy. That shouldn't have been the way such an information should have been known even to the Ministry of Finance, that supposedly is a coordinating economy. Do you...
Isn't it?
Huh?
You said supposedly. I thought that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. They're in charge of the budget. So they should know every expenditure they should not need any reconciliation committee or any. No, but do you understand? I mean, what I'm saying that they ain't even in a difficult position because they've been given a title. So, which means that they should know at any given time what those revenues are. But you know, when they go to FAC, they themselves are engaging NNPC and Petroleum that, look, what are these figures? You know, because if that was happening, there was no need. There would have been no need where an agency of government will be writing to another agency of government to say something is missing. Do you understand? So there must be something that is not transparent on the revenue side. And the law is very clear that all funds should go into federation and not be deducted. So it appears that because Agency A is the one producing and collecting the revenue, Agency A, that's why they use the word parallel government, deciding, oh, you know what, before I pay you that money, I use part of this money for this, that, so I'm going to take it, I'll take it, and then I send the money to you. And that's where the word parallel government is. That is not transparent. It should run to a process where all the revenues go to what should be a central pool, and then NNPC, like everybody else, is an expenditure agency and says, this is what I need. But when you don't do that, it doesn't become transparent. I think that's a concern.